People even made comments about my hat the other day. Said take the bull by the horns. I bought it at the gas station because I like the colors of it. I actually don't even like the patch. I'll freaking pull the patch off. But it had nothing to do. Actually, the patch ain't that bad if it didn't have the writing. I don't like the writing, but doesn't mean the devil. Trust me. What's up, people? We're here. Morning sunrise walk. I'm debating right now whether I should go live at 6 a.m. from my laptop or if I should drive back to the Balanced Rock and work with the energy there before I start the day. What's up, my people? How's it going? We're here to talk about some interesting things that is going to blow your mind. And you see, guys, what's progressing around us, right? A lot of things are transpiring in a very short period of time. And remember, this video is for entertainment uses only here on YouTube. We're going to go much deeper on my Patreon, where you can find way deeper information about these topics. Patreon.com/The Mystical Spiral. And I'm also here to talk about energy work and working with copper as well. I have another channel. If people don't know, I have another channel called Sacred Taurus, Copper and Crystals, right? And it's whether I have these products, whether I was offering them for sale or not, I would still be working with them. Way before I offered them for people to purchase as well, before I did this for a living as well, I was already using these products and working with them for years, right? So there was an interesting comment on my Sacred Taurus, Copper and Crystals, because, some of the shorts that I do, thousands of people see them. They get a lot of views, some of them. So, you get all types of people messaging you or responding about them, and some of them are clueless or maybe just say things just to get, because they're having a bad day or they want to get a rise out of somebody or whatever. But some people see the copper and they're like, oh, it looks nice, but it does nothing. What is it? It's nothing. It's just nothing. It's just a piece of metal, which is not, it's not correct. You can say that about a pen. It does nothing until you start to draw with it, or a paintbrush. It does nothing until you know how to use it, right? Or anything like that. Oh, it's starting to drizzle. Anything like that, you could say it does nothing until you know how to use it or activate it or apply it, right? And what's interesting is that a comment like that also, it gives us a clue about where this mental state is with the majority of the people today. They want instant gratification, so just by, even if you're not a smoker or whatever, just by eating sugar and different things, people can build up mucus in their lungs and things like this, right? People want that years of buildup. You want a remedy within minutes, seconds. That can't happen. Right? It's not a magic wand, but there's real science behind it. So even applying like a copper tensor Faraday cage face mask or tensor tool, like as a feedback loop like this, to certain areas, right? It will help pull out mucus of the lungs, but you would have to use it for 10 to 15 to 20 minutes a day for several days or weeks, things like that, and it'll start to help. It'll help. You'll see results, actually, right? And remember, this is no medical advice or anything or spiritual advice. This is only for entertainment uses only. This is just some of my testimonials of what I've used it for as well. And a lot of these products, like this feedback loop, inspired by Slim Sperling, right? Now, each one of these copper tensor rings here, this is a massive piece, because look at this. Each ring would be a normal pendant that somebody is wearing, right? So look at all these rings within this system here. And this is a massive torus loop system, and it's like a slinky, see? Very bendable, and you would apply it to the area to pull out the negative energy and put in the positive energy. There's a constant explosion of positive, new, fresh electrons, right? What I mean by positive is that when you twist the copper clockwise, cut from the royal cubit measurement, like we have here, right? This takes out the positive and negative charge in the piece of copper and leaves only the positive out. You're squeezing and like a sponge, you're, you know, twisting all the negative out and leaving only a positive charge within all the copper. Then you make the ring or the coil or whatever you from that, right? So when you have a positive, fresh explosion constantly of electrons, it's going to help heal bones, heal cuts, pull infections out, all of that quicker, right? It's like real science behind it, right? So it also will help shield from EMF, harmful things like this, but the feedback loop is just a constant flow of sucking the negative out in the one side and putting positive out in the other. And this is a really great model. And what we do with this, and actually as it oxidizes and ages, it gets even stronger, right? So what I do with the package with this, I include a couple of very rare natural in their natural form, free form gem crystals, like a reticulated garden quartz freeform and a fire quartz freeform package comes with these. So that's a really incredible package. And any feedback loop from anybody that makes these kind of products this size is going to be like a couple $100 at least 200 or more, because this takes a lot of copper and a lot of work to go into it. Look at all those copper rings in there, very large size too, right? But this is a lifetime energy device for your mind, body, and soul to hold with you, right? This will last a lifetime. You can always even fix the rings if they get a little stretched a little bit. It's bendable. So these are really amazing, these feedback loops. I think I have two that recently were made that are available, two packages that come with the very rare crystal packages. And right now, guys, because I went to the Balance Rock yesterday and I was working with certain energies, I put a 21% coupon code up for all customers. No matter what the minimum purchase is, you get 21% off of everything for the next 24 hours. So I think that was interesting, because I think that a lot of these tools, people need to be available to people. And unfortunately, they cost a lot to be able to make some of these copper. And so like with the discount code, I think more people that maybe might not have been able to get it a few weeks ago, maybe they can get it now. And you'll see that you don't look for instantaneous results, but I've had instantaneous results with certain copper as well. Especially the copper face masks that I've wore. I've had allergies in the past, and as soon as I put it on, within seconds, it's already clearing my allergies up. So I've had instantaneous results working with copper. But let me give you an example as well with Slim Sperling when he was alive. Usually, many horses, once they have vicious breaks of their leg, they're useless, right? A lot of people even would terminate the horse, right? So they had a horse that had one of the worst breaks in their leg, and they were going to terminate the horse, right? This was in the 90s with Slim Sperling. So he made the larger tensor rings, the ones that I have around, right here, around my, like this one, the tensor ring like this. I call it the water ring, the water model, right? Because it fits right around the water bottles. I also the smart meter size, a lot bigger size, right? So they taped a few of these rings around the horse's leg, I don't know if they duct taped it or whatever, but they taped them around the horse's leg and left it there for a couple of months, and the horse's leg like healed better than new. Like it was great. They were amazed. By 8 months, that horse was like back like it never happened before, which they found pretty remarkable. And it's because of the copper rings. Copper rings help to do that. That's real science behind that, you know. And I've experienced higher connections, if you want to say, to put it on YouTube, you know, the best way that won't get flagged. But I've witnessed and felt higher frequencies, seen things that don't usually exist on this plane of existence at this frequency, and you can actually, I think, tap into higher frequencies at certain mathematical like a that are mathematically compatible. You know, like 432, 144, 72, 8 hertz, things like this. I found that the most beneficial frequencies that I've had experiences on while using copper. And I think is because the royal cubit is said to have a harmonic frequency of 144, which is 144,000, like 144 megahertz, right? So that's harmonic light speed. So that's very interesting itself. And now let's get into the red granite megalithic sites, right? So these red granite megalithic sites have been all over the planet, and many of them have been not just of red granite but of granite. And many people have wondered why and what these obelisks have been for, these dolmens have been for, menhirs, all different grand tumulus structures. I don't know if people know what the grand tumulus structures are, but they have them in Britain. They have some, right, where these are um, basically like mounds of stacked red granite. I think most of them, and they're like slates and slabs of red granite stacked on top of each other, like a man-made mountain, or like a mound, right? And then at the top of the mound, it'll be like, you know, all the on the whole sides of it, there'll be no openings or anything like that, right? That's important to remember. But then at the top, they'll have one little opening at the top, and inside, sometimes there'll be one chamber. The Saint Michel has numerous chambers inside of it. That one is the grand one. I think it's like 5 stories, right? So or something like that. That's in England, I think. The Saint Michel, right? The Saint Michel grand. It's called the Grand Tumulus structure, right? So that one is pretty massive. I think there's actually multiple chambers, like I said, in that one. But um, normally all the other ones, the other tumulus structures that I think only have one chamber inside, which is interesting because these tumulus structures, right? When you have red granite, they can be used for numerous things, not just meditation, higher connection, astral travel. But listen to this. So there's, you know, harvest connections. That's why a lot of these things are connected to harvest spirits, harvest gods, right? So when you have a red granite in general, right? Red granite emits low levels of radiation, right? I don't know. I've talked about it before on my radio show and stuff. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on YouTube. John Burke talks about it in his old book, uh, uh, Seeds of Knowledge, Stones of Plenty, or I think that's the name of it. I have the book. It's hard to find nowadays because it's out of print. But it the reason why I first got the book was because it's one of the only books in the world, besides my information, that talk about the North Salem, New York balanced rock right here, right? The red granite, one of the most amazing red granite dolmens in the whole world, not just in the Northeast of America. Um, so these grand tumulus structures, right? They stack this red granite on top of each other. Red granite emitting low levels of radiation itself, right? So like when you live in certain places like that have a lot of red granite tabletops, right? Like in Rhode Island, different places around there. There's a lot of There's a lot of like red granite or just granite in general, granite countertops and kitchen tops in different places, right? I think it's which one's called the Granite State? Is it I forget it. I got to look it up. But, if you go into those areas where there's a lot of granite, and they'll have places where there's a lot of granite countertops in homes, you have to either like you have to leave your windows cracked a little bit, usually at all times, because like radiation can build up, and it can cause cancer after prolonged periods, right? But if you go like into the Home Depot in those areas and things like that, there'll be radon detectors all over the place for people to buy. Not in New York and places like that. In other places, maybe you don't see them as much, but they have the radon detector so you can detect radiation in homes because of if people have granite countertops and things like that. They have to have a radon detector usually. So what does this mean? Well, if you have a grand tumulus structure that has, the highly crystallized red granite, and red granite um, emitting low levels of radiation. So if you have a sealed mound of a whole bunch of red granite, right, and just a little hole on the top, right, that's all that radiation is going to be built up on the inside, right? And then you have a hole on the top, can even be plugged if you want. So that hole on the top is where they would put, in ancient times and old times, a whole bunch of seeds, before harvest. So those seeds would be like dosed with they would experience enhanced growth and things like that, because they would be in that highly ionized air, right? The ionized air within that chamber from the red granite. You put the seeds in there, and the seeds get like supercharged and dosed, and then when you put them for harvest, they will experience enhanced growth and abundance, right? So these were like seed treatment centers as well in the past. So I do believe the North Salem, New York Balance Rock was more enclosed underneath at one time. The stones that it's balancing on, I believe there were several more at one time. And it was more sealed in, where there was only one entrance underneath. Now there's entrances at both sides. But I believe at one time there was only entrance from the one side. It was more sealed in, where you had to crawl inside, you know. So, and you'll see a lot of those in Sardinia, different places like that. These huge structures, you have to like crawl in at the bottom in the chamber, and then when you get inside, it's big inside. You could stand inside, but you'd have to crawl in at the bottom. Why is that? Because I do believe that it was for that ionized air, right? And they're also built on magnetic anomalies, right? So that's the one area to their use, because there's several use to these structures, right? And I think at different periods of time, different cultures have used them for different things as well, right? But one of the main reasons why they were developed, I do believe, is for not only the seed treatment for harvest, so not only are you connecting to Mother Earth and using Mother Earth's nature's elements and materials to you know you know communicate with nature and the plant kingdom and all of this, right? Not only are you using that and connecting to here below, but you're also using it to connect to above. I do believe, I don't know about all the structures in the world, but for granite, the granite ones that we're talking about, I do feel that these granite structures, many of them, were used to communicate literally with the rays of the sun, the solar wind, the literally intelligence and the information that's coming from bursts from the sun and from the literal rays of the sun, especially on certain archaeoastronomy alignments with these sites. They have archaeoastronomy alignments, solar alignments, where they will get the very first flash of sunrise on winter solstice, right? That very first flash of sunrise, or that alignment, of the winter solstice sun brings specific information and specific alignments. And I do believe that it was made for soul communication, solar communication with these red granite. And that would be recorded within the crystals of the red granite and amplified and conducted. And there's all sorts of piezoelectricity activity going on with dolmens and red granite, right? Really incredible. Really incredible. If you guys, hold on, let me see what's in the chat room. Oh, we got Solas in the chat room. Solas is up early. Solas. I like that name because even with the sun, you see that the sun's called solar, right? Soul. And we also use soul for our soul, right? Very interesting that we use those two words, even though they're spelled differently. They're one and the same, I do feel. The transportation of souls, the cleansing and rebirth of souls. How do I think they made what? How do I think they made red granite? Or obelisks or dolmens? That's interesting because many people have said they were petrified before, that they were body parts, this and that. I don't agree with all of that per se. I do feel it's happened before. Things have been petrified in mud, but I don't believe that every rock that you see is a body part of something, right? I do feel everything is biological, but that doesn't mean everything is made from like human-like beings or giants. That's a ridiculous statement. Really a ridiculous statement. If anything, most of it would be sea life, in my opinion, right? But the dolmen, I do feel that it was not a glacial erratic. I mean, it's on a magnetic anomaly, right? Well, look at, there's interesting in the pavement here. Stars, hearts. I never noticed this. I'm taking a walk right now. Look at, we're walking on the path here. There's stars and hearts. I never noticed that before here. I haven't walked here in this area since I'm a kid down here. That one looks like a dragonfly or an angel or a cross or an ankh. What the hell? Wow, or that's interesting. But yeah, see, what's interesting about the dolmen is that I think that it's quite possible that someone related to either a culture related to either the Minoans, the Vikings, or the Phoenicians. I've talked about more specifically on my Patreons which one, because we do the remote viewings on there. It's in the archives on my Patreon. So I don't want to spoil it for the people that have got it exclusively on my Patreon. But I'll give you guys this. I think 3 cultures have definitely made it to America before, not even Columbus, before the Knights Templars. I think the Templars were way before Columbus, right? Hundreds of years. But the Phoenicians, I do believe, were here. Culture or people related to the what we call the Phoenicians, or what was called the Phoenicians. The Minoans. I do feel the Minoans most likely made North and South America, for sure. I think they were far more advanced than what people give them credit for as well. And they had specific knowledge about soul travel. And that is the most sacred knowledge is the travel from one life to the next, recreating yourself, from your particles within the plasma solar wind network. And these structures are made specifically to communicate with that network. All suns and stars emit plasma, right? These are intelligences that literally communicate and collect information from and to certain star systems and our own star, our own sun. No doubt in my mind. And I feel the dolmen was not a glacial erratic, that it is, I don't know exactly how the rock was formed, right? The stone was formed. Because I've done remote viewings on the stone itself, and I've gotten symbols before. I've gotten all sorts of different things, but never something that would explain how it actually was made into a stone, right? I've gotten different things that have come to me before about it. But I don't know actually how it was formed into the stone, but I do almost 100% would think, from things that I've seen and just from rationality, from me examining it, I would say that for sure it was placed there on quartzite slabs. Now, it's red granite that's 60 to 90 tons. That's not from anywhere near that area, right? Natively. So that's why they say it's a glacial erratic, that it was put there by the Ice Age. Because we have other glacial, so-called glacial erratics in our area here. Some of them massive. I showed one here on YouTube from the Rockefeller Preserve, right? Which is huge. It's like a 3-story building. And they have carved effigies on that glacial erratic that I've rediscovered, that nobody has talked about. We don't have any record of it. I'm not the first one to discover it, of course, because somebody put it there, right? And I'm sure many people knew about it afterwards, but it was covered by trees and shrubbery until recently. Recently, they trimmed down and cut down a lot of trees that were in front of it. And I think most people overlook things. I found several effigies in this area that have not been previously discovered since we've colonized this area since the late 1600s, right? Now, if they have discovered it anywhere, it hasn't been put in the record books. I've gone to the town halls. I've gone to the local areas where museums and things like that. Nobody has record of certain effigies that I've found. One has been in here in what we call the Low Tor or High Tor Mountains. The Low Tor and High Tor Mountains are over here. High Tor is basically High Thor, right? And the Dutch were some of the first settlers here. And so they were the ones that called this High Thor or High Tor mountain. It was also called Indian's Chair because it looks like a throne. One part, it's like a chair. I found it facing magnetic north, looking at the Hudson River on the mountain, one of the mountain cliffs. One of the effigies I found in a massive stone. You guys have seen here. The other one I found on a massive glacial erratic. Over a dozen effigies on the massive glacial erratic. I've shown it here on YouTube. Over a dozen massive effigies on the glacial erratic. It's really incredible. Really incredible. I mean, on the front, you have at least a dozen of them, right? And on the back, from the one side, the whole thing turns into a massive effigy. So it's known in the area, I think, in general, that they do effigies on glacial erratics, right? So that's just in general, I think that natives would have, or if you want to call them natives, but just people in general, I think they started carving effigies on glacial erratics probably, thousands of years ago in this area. The one that's in the Rockefeller Preserve in Westchester County, is massive. It's like 3 stories, 4 stories high. It's incredible. But the one here in Westchester, the North Salem Balance Rock, it's not stories high. You guys can see from the pictures, but it's 60 to 90 tons of red granite that's balancing on just on the corners, balancing on smaller quartzite slabs, which it's incredible. It's just incredible, and it's on top of a magnetic anomaly, a minus 400 gamma magnetic anomaly, right? And in my opinion, it was placed there over 10,000 years ago. Over 10,000 years ago. So it was cultures that are related, I think, to what we would call some of that trickled down later to the Phoenicians and the Minoans and people like this. But it's much, much older than what we know, I think. I think it's been there for at least 10,000 years, or that stone's been a dolmen in some capacity, so probably for at least that long. Now, I feel the front side at one time was carved. I don't think that it's a petrified skull, anything like that. I do think that it could be some sort of heart, if anything, right? Because I was getting like different things coming to me about a heart, a massive heart, or related to the hearts of man or something like that, right? But I don't think it's an actual skull, right? No, I don't. It's interesting that red granite has no free metals in it, and it's highly with quartz crystal in it. Really incredible, right? But I do feel the front side was carved to look like what we know and what we call Sekhet or Sekhmet. Even Ashtaroth from the Canaanites and the Phoenicians and Hebrew, different Hebrew-related tribes. They Amorites, different King Og of Bashan. Some of the symbolism of the Rephaim and the Phoenicians and different tribes like that. They would use Ashtaroth. Actually, the city of Bashan. This is near Golan Heights, Lebanon. Supposedly the place of where the area where King Og ruled over. That was his area, right? Bashan originally was called Ashtaroth Quar Naim. I don't know if I'm butchering the way to say it, but it's originally written as Ashtaroth Quar Naim. That city, which means the womb of Ashtaroth, right? Which it's all about birth, being earth-born, having the lactose metabolism gene even added to humanity, I think, and just having childbirth on this planet, right? I think was very important. I think that there were certain bloodlines that when they were first earthborn, when they came here, it's a very powerful thing, right? Because you never know how another species, other DNA, how it will react to an environment. And sometimes the oxygen, everything would be more enhanced, more right. So I think once they experience the earth elements, and they're subject to earth realms, earth rules like hunger, the elements of the air, the wind, everything here. I think things were just for certain bloodlines highly amplified, considering what we have now. That's why scholars tried to also put the translations from the ancient times as that there were only giants of wisdom. They weren't giants of stature. But I do believe we had both. But yes, the dolmen I do feel was carved to look like a feline lion humanoid on the first side. The back side is a completely different transformation of stone. It's a tabletop dolmen. It looks like a friggin', it looks like a smaller version of Oumuamua, or like some sort of comet or or asteroid or something like that. It really does. From the back side. From the front side, I mean, it's almost exactly like the side profile of Sekhmet. Almost exactly. You guys can see the picture I put for the title of this video. I mean, I put the side profile next to each other of Sekhmet and of the North Salem, New York balanced rock, or the Sekhmet chamber that I call it, or even the Sphinx of New York, because it's got the lion head, and it's got like legs there, that it's balancing on. So it could almost be like a Sphinx. I also found some similarities with even like the Romanian Sphinx and different stones throughout the world as well. But this one is very unique. One of the most incredible. The fact that it's on a magnetic anomaly. I've been working with this stone for years now. This dolmen, this megalithic dolmen, and the more I work with it, the more it shows me things. And this is how I got the Ankh symbol coming to me as being a coronal mass ejection. This is how I found some other people's work out there and some other translations out there that I needed to read that put me on my path. I've been getting shown images, different things. It's not only that, but the copper and the crystals help enhance and make the bridge and the connection. It's all part of the process. All part of the process. I think it's a possibility that red granite was made, not, forget about that it could be made out of blood and body parts and things like that. I do feel that it could have been made red granite. A lot of the red granite, but you have places that have their whole bedrocks of granite, though. How do you explain that? Right? Even Gettysburg, right? Most of the plain of the Gettysburg area, where a lot of the activity is the bedrock is lined with black granite there. So that would record the memory. It would be almost like a time travel plane where you could experience other moments in time collected in the crystal, right? So when you have something of granite that's very, very old, 10,000 plus years, and it's put at a spot where there's a magnetic anomaly and people go for spiritual worship and spiritual prayer and healing and what have you, this is all collected in the crystal. This is all collected in the stone, right? Cosmic events that literally is coming from the sun. Intelligence that's coming from the sun. Every ray of sun from the sun and its rays that touch that dolmen, its radiating force, right? Every time the sun has shined and irradiated that stone, that information has been stored within the crystal. That information is within the stone itself, within the very crystals of the red granite. And that is not by coincidence placed there. Yeah, that's done by a specific reason. Like I said, it has archaeoastronomy alignments on winter solstice and Lion's Gate. It's starting to rain. I've recorded them, the winter solstice one and the Lion's Gate one. And also on winter solstice, what was it, 2020? when we had the Saturn Jupiter conjunction. There was something, I forget what it was called now. Oh my god! But I have it. I have it on my website. But I was there when we had a certain alignment that happened at 1:30 in the afternoon Eastern time with the sun, the winter solstice, everything happening, and literally the winter solstice sun at that time was right on, sitting on top of the pineal gland area of the head of that megalithic dolmen, like it was resting on a table. Really amazing. Really amazing. And the winter sun just goes across that dolmen like a timetable. Really incredible. It's freaking raining. This is one of my prototypes. Check this out. It's got 3 really high grade, AAA grade aquamarine spheres in there. Then we got the opal skull. What? Yeah, everybody. So like working at the Rock yesterday, I was like, oh, I definitely, I put up no minimum purchase required, 21% discount on all items, all tensor tools, all crystals, all gems. There's certain items on there that, I mean, most of those items I have up on my website are once in a lifetime purchases. Like very rare. You can't get them pretty much anywhere else. They have rare charges to them, some of them. And they're all, like, everything that's made on there and carved is all handmade and custom made either by me or my buddy Orlando that we've been working with for many, many years. Yeah, it really is incredible. Not just a line, but record the information that's sent. People don't realize how much information is coming from the sun. There are magnetic streams of information, particle streams that are coming from the sun in coronal mass ejection loops as well. Onks, right? And if you go to my Patreon, I have been breaking down how ancient Egyptian, ancient Near East, all of these ancient cultures, Japanese, all of them, have been talking about literally recreating yourself inside the plasma waters, inside a network that exists around Earth that we call the magnetosphere. There are different chambers inside the magnetosphere, different areas. There are different coordinates. It's a huge area. And this can be navigated at a certain frequency, at our soul, in our magnetic duplicate of who we are. It's a quantum plasma world of particles and gases. And you can astral travel into that network, or you can die and cross over into that network. And one of the oldest pharaohs that discusses this journey is Unas. Right? We have the pyramid texts. I mean, that's one of the oldest, but everybody from Black Elk to Carl Jung have discussed in their own way communicating with this network. From Edgar Casey with the Akashic, right? All of this. Just some of the science wasn't there to explain it in this way. that people go to the Mystical Spiral store now. 21% off of everything on the website for the next 24 hours. No minimum purchase required. You people need these devices, these tools. I only have 2 of these packages ready, available, and there won't be more of these made for a while now, because I have all my inventory stocked up that I'm going to have for a while, and now it's time to unload it. So we have a few of these made, and the packages of crystals that they come with are rare, and I'm not probably I can't get those crystals again. They're Himalayan quartz, right? That's stuff. A lot of the stuff I can't get anymore. So these feedback loop packages, they're once in a lifetime, and like I said, as they get older, they get even more powerful. As it oxidizes, it gets stronger. So change your whole life today, your healing, your mind, your body, your soul. Copper feedback loops made from the sacred royal cubit measurement. Really incredible. Look at all those tensor rings in this. And you get 2 huge free forms that go in the center of this. So why do I do that with the quartz? Why do I have AAA grade garden reticulated quartz and fire quartz that I include with these feedback loops? Well, because when you're using the feedback loop, I recommend put the crystal inside the middle of the loop. So the imprint of you removing negative energy and putting positive energy into your body is recorded in that crystal. Then you carry that crystal with you. So when you're at work or you're wherever and you don't have time to look like a weirdo and pull out a copper loop because you're experiencing negative energy, or you have stress, or you have anxiety, or you feel like there's bacteria in the area even, or there's somebody has a cold, or all of this reasons why you would want to use the feedback loop, or you have a stomach ache or anything like that, right? Well, you can pull out your crystal and hold it in your hand, and it has the recorded memory of that moment of you pulling out the pain and putting positive in. Now, if you mentally remember that as well, you can activate that within the crystal, right? It's very important that you guys remember this. It also has to do with your mind being aligned to the information. If you don't believe in it, it ain't going to happen at all. That's why a placebo is even so powerful, because it's the person's belief that does most of the job. But there's real science behind the information of the crystal and the copper, right? So if you have something that really works on one end and your faith on the other, it's even more powerful, because faith alone can get you certain places. So imagine if that was amplified, and actually something is there to help form that bridge. We have that, and nature provides all of that for us. We don't have to manufacture it. Nature already provides all the metals and the crystals and the stones, things like this. This is what, this is why we're using now technology to replace spirituality, right? Before, spirituality and technology were one and the same. That's why the highly advanced structures you see are made of stone. Now, what are they made from? Wires and metals and plastics and all the stuff that they use to form an artificial structure. They're not made from all natural materials. Yeah, they'll use some metals and stuff in it, but everything is treated or chemicalized, or it's not even like manufactured, and it's a replication of real spiritual technology, right? Real spiritual knowledge. You don't need a lab to do genetic manipulation, because that breaks cosmic laws of nature. The universe has bacterial genetics, quantum physics, plasma physics, all of that. It's all going on right around us. That's why you don't need a lab to do it, because God's doing it already. Bacterial genetics, all of this is happening all around us. Evolution, it's happening naturally. It's happening throughout the cosmos. God is taking care of it, right? That's why would you need somebody doing genetic manipulation in a lab and playing God when it's already happening? Comets and meteors, all of this are seeding planets. Genetic engineering is going on all over, right? Worlds are being seeded. So if it's other intelligent life forms that are in control of the seeding of the planets, then we have an ultimate war over DNA in the cosmos, right? And I think ultimately that is what the Bible is about. That is what the ultimate, even Star Wars, for Christ's sakes. I think ultimately all these stories are about the war over cosmic currency, the war over DNA, the war over power and control over planets. That's why what did the fallen angels do that disobeyed God so much? They added their DNA to human females, right? And the whole planet became contaminated. And this broke cosmic law. And how was that DNA brought here? I do believe it was brought here through solar wind and from cometary and meteoric deposits. And the solar wind and the auroras and everything else come in to the planet and sprinkles all of that down, impregnating Mother Earth. I don't remember what was funny. I forgot what I was laughing about, but yeah, I got the feedback loop. This I have certain models that I've come up with myself with the copper. Of course, all the copper and crystal creations are my own creations. All the copper and crystal wrap, but the copper tensor tools that I have, most of them are inspired by Slim Sperling, right? Except for a few of the models that I make that were my own thoughts, from my own thoughts, like the ear model that I make, the Ankh, the modified Ankh device with the spiral in the middle. Those are all my own creations. But the feedback loop, this was one of Slim Sperling and somebody he was working with originally came up with the idea of the feedback loop here. But you know, Tesla was working with technology like this. Many people in the past, I'm sure, have come up with similar devices. But I find the tensor rings, the harmonizers, and the feedback loop are the most powerful for removing negative pain and negative energy. God body. What happened, God body? What was funny? I forget. Maybe what I'm talking about. I don't know. But yeah, these water ring ones, you could wear them as a bracelet, as a pendant, or to put around to restructure water, put it around the water bottle. So I'll show you guys. Fits around the water bottle perfectly. So, you know, you got to do is put the water bottle down on the table and put the water ring around it. It sits right inside of it. Right? You leave it there. Even your buds, your food, your anything you could put inside the copper ring before consuming it. Right? Even if you're making shungite, if you're dosing your water with shungite, right? Put the copper ring around that as well, as the shungite is sitting in the water. For sure. Always. Your morning cup of coffee sitting inside the copper ring. I mean, it ain't going to hurt it, so don't be afraid of it. It's only going to make a more harmonic frequency and cleanse it. It's really going to restructure it. Really going to restructure it. It's going to really be the best water you've ever tasted, especially if you get to sit there overnight. A bowl of soup, anything that you want to put inside the rings. I have the large ring that you can fit pretty much all food in there, or plates in there, right? The ones that fit around the smart meter. These ones are made specifically for either being a pendant, You can wear it around your neck while you're walking around with the necklace material. It's really a cool big size pendant too. It looks dope, right? So you can wear that as a pendant. Comes with necklace material. You can put it on your wrist and wear it as a bracelet. And when you come home, you put it down and put your water bottle in it. Where you get to work, you put your water, take it off and put your water bottle in it, or whatever. I mean, it's a lifetime friend all day long. I like the even larger ring because if you get even a stomach ache or whatever, it fits around your whole belly area. You could tuck it in your waistband. That was actually something that was recommended by Slim Sperling in one of the books that I have of his from the 90s. And I've been using that technique for years. Anytime I get a stomach ache or something like that, I'll use the copper ring. A lot better than taking a pill for something. Really incredible. See how it's twisted clockwise, how it goes. That is the magic. That is the magic. Same with the feedback loop. Look at that. Masterwork. Very proud of these. And this is a very extra large size. I have two of these sizes, two of these packages available. They're really incredible. And the harmonizers, they all custom made to fit. They come with Himalayan quartz crystal balls. Every harmonizer I sell comes with a crystal ball or two, and comes with also a cluster. So really intense. Really intense. Solar communication with red granite structures will be live in a little while from my laptop, so don't miss out. Patreon.com/themysticalspiral will be on Zoom. We might even come live on YouTube for a little while as well. The Mystical Spiral store. We got a 21% coupon code up when you go to the website. I think it's called Soul Solstice 21, something like that. But you'll see it pops up as soon as you go to the website. Don't miss out for 24 hours. No matter what the no minimum purchase required. 21% off. The MysticalSpiralStore.com. Spiral out.